Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and today we're going to be doing a rapid review. If you're new to the channel or haven't ever heard of these rapid reviews, these are our short reviews of movies that we either think are really good and underrated, that people should kind of get a view on, kind of thing. They tend to be very short. We hit a couple of marks, and that's kind of where we go for. So this week we're going to be doing.
Well, Paul, we're going to do Equilibrium because rapid reviews are all about movies that people may have heard of or may not have seen, but they often get overlooked. And quite often they're seen as being a bit crap. Equilibrium falls into that category, by the way, folks. I just want to get that out there for anybody who's going, what? Yeah, Equilibrium, it's better than you think, is probably what the subtitle of this video should be. As far as rapid reviews go, though, we're going to give you the good and the bad, and some of the just downright weird and ugly. So, Paul, do you want me to give a quick synopsis of what it's all about?
Yeah, like just the thing, we use this to tip you on it, like from the scales of watching the movie. That's another point that we tend to do. So otherwise, yeah, Patrick, take it away.
So yeah, what is Equilibrium for anybody who's never heard of it, because it's 22 years old now or so. Okay, stick with me here, folks. I'm going to give you this in a couple of sentences. Imagine a future. It's after the Third World War. They've realized, and this is all about that whole man's inability to be humane to itself, man's inhumanity to man. And it's all caused by one thing they've discovered, and that's emotions. If only we could control our emotions, then there would never be wars or bad things or problems of any sort. So in this wonderful future, much like maybe Fahrenheit 451 or Orwell's 1984, you've got a bit of a placating of the masses, let's say it. So they've come up with something called prosarium, which sounds an awful lot like Prozac to me, that everybody takes to keep themselves nice and calm and nice and even, and everybody's good and everybody listens to the leader. No, leader. Now, what do you do if you're going to have all that? Well, you have to get rid of all these renegade people who still want to feel. And that's when you come up with the grammaton cleric. And why would I bother even knowing what the thing is called in the film? It's because everything in this film takes itself slightly seriously, and the grammaton clerics are these police that kind of police emotions. So they'll watch you if you're happy or you're crying. Oh gosh, he's crying. That's it. That's an emotion. That's bad. But they also run around getting rid of anything that could bring out emotions in people. So they go around burning priceless art. The Mona Lisa gets burned in this movie. And there are, obviously, as you always have in these movies, there's a resistance, there's an underground, and it's people who want to, maintain some of the old stuff before it's all gone. And our main character, Christian Bale, is one of these grammaton clerics who, as you can probably guess, is out there and he's burning art and dobbing people in and burning them for having emotions and having emotion crimes, or whatever the hell they call it. But he does have second thoughts. Not to spoil the movie, Paul, but it's not like the guy who was going to be part of the bad police at the start was going to be part of the bad police at the end. Oh, spoiler alert. So does he realize he's a cog in an awful machine? Yeah. So Paul, that's it in a nutshell. It's basically a dystopian future with emotions police, and they're just trying to eradicate people having too many feelings, because feelings led to war, man. So feelings must be bad.
Yeah, and just the point that the grammaton clerics are like the elite agents of them. There are other people who are kind of more normal police kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. It's just literally just a totalitarian state that just like hates you crying or being happy. It's like the old man of the park kind of government kind of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting film. Came out in 2022, in the era of, like, as you said, Aeon Flux and what is this, Violet, what's that other one,
Ultraviolet.
And then right after the Matrix thing, which was when, like, as you said, trench coats and sunglasses were cool.
Paul, it can't be underestimated that the Matrix had come out, because you can do your retelling of 1984 and totalitarian states, and you can look into how the big questions of what is freedom, what is thought, what is liberty, and what should freedom should be given up to protect safety, and what makes humanity humanity. But if you do it in a black trench coat and there's guns, post Matrix, you can do this. You can fall into trying to rip off the Matrix aesthetic.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's fully ripping it off, but or just following a stupid like trend in a real bad way, kind of going. Do you know how we make 1984 cool? Trench coats and sunglasses, and everyone was just like, "What, really?" Because, okay, I guess we're doing this, kind of thing. But yeah, so the good of this movie,
yes,
it like so. If you want to, do you want to start on the kind of good
sure.
parts?
It's like I think, look, it's a serious premise for all the messing around with guns and trench coats. It doesn't dodge the core themes, humanity, control, government oppression, whatever you might want to think about as far as those sorts of movies go. Like it does an all right job there, and that's a good. But the great and what makes that really good is there's some serious actors in this thing. Christian Bale, we've already mentioned him. Christian Bale being maximum Christian Bale, he takes this role extremely seriously. When has he not taken a role extremely seriously? I guess is the question. But then you've got Sean Bean, who, well, I think this was peak him. This was him at the height of his powers. He's not in the entire movie, I'd say, but he is very memorable because he plays someone who is having emotions, who is not supposed to be having emotions, and that in itself has to be played subtly. And I think he did a great job. Emily Watson's in it. You've got some amazing people in this movie. There's a lot of really good stuff. There's a lot of really good thought that goes into how they're going to approach the storytelling of the oppressive state and looking at what humanity is without emotion. That's the good, Paul. Do you have any more good you can layer on there?
Well, yeah, like it. Yeah, as you said, it's the cast is amazing, which does tell. Like, I guess it's really hard to portray people without emotions. So how you do it well is by getting a pretty good cast that So it's like, yeah, they can really do emotions. So let's see them not, and then just like, all right, we can do this, brushing off the shoulder kind of thing. Yeah, it's got a really good cast. As you said, some of the themes that they go into, classism, totalitarian, they really kind of lean into it a lot. It's very thought provoking, in a lot of kind of senses, which it is a nice kind of I guess chapter entry into the kind of 1984 Brave New World, which goes or like stories that the dystopian. We need to try fix this thing. So let's just make everybody not do one thing that we know kind of thing. So
yeah,
like freedom or anything else. So yeah, it does really play well, and some of the action scenes are really really nice. Which goes that is going to lead into probably some of the bigger problems of this movie, but yeah, the action movies are nice. It's Christian Bale kind of doing action scenes, so it's good. The reveal, there's certain reveals in this that are also, you don't really see them coming, kind of thing, which is also really nice. Which plays into more of the themes kind of thing, and also kind of the totalitarianness kind of thing. Yeah, and then Sean Bean's like a linchpin in this kind of, and plays it really well. So yeah, so onto the.
I think and I'm really glad. I should have mentioned you're right, there are some pivotal scenes in this that if they were in another movie, they would be lauded a lot more, as in they would be respected and people would talk about them. This movie took a lot of good stuff down with it for what maybe we're going to talk about next, which is some of the not so good stuff.
Yeah, so it's a good film. It has a little bit too much action in it for the kind of serious content that it tries to portray, which I think is the whole problem of it being in the era of like after Matrix, ultraviolet, and which goes
Aeon Flux and stuff like that,
kind of era kind of thing. So it's kind of like we need to stylize violence and have it in there quite a lot because it needs to be three of the pillars of our story. which is a problem for me. It's yeah, no.
Look, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, what really did and what let this movie down was its reliance on the idea that it wanted to be a Matrix style thing where you can pull off a high concept, meaning thought provoking movie, and coolly put in some drum and bass or whatever that genre of music is called, and choreograph some gun show to it. They didn't do it as well. They didn't pull that mix off. This wasn't adding a little bit of honey to the oatmeal. This was adding a little bit of engine oil to the souffle. They were, they were not able to make the mix work. So it either took itself too seriously for an action movie, or it was a serious movie that had too much action in it. I don't know which. But Paul, can we talk about that action for 1 second? Because I think it's worth getting into the idea that one of the pivotal parts of this is that they invented their own martial art for it, the gun kata, which kata is for anybody who does jiu-jitsu or any of the martial arts, forms. It's taking particular forms and practicing things over and over again. Well, they come up with a load of waffle, Paul, that if you have these certain gun movements and you point them in certain ways and shoot at certain times, that will give you a statistical advantage, and you're likely, they've studied all the gunfights there ever been. If you shoot here and then shoot there and then do that and then shoot this way and then shoot that way, then you're likely to hit everybody that you need to. That's a bad guy. It's a load of cack, though, because as cool as it looks, it's somebody standing there with people firing a crap ton of bullets at them. And even though it's believable that, yeah, maybe, these certain patterns of firing your weapon will help, it doesn't make you bulletproof. Why are you standing still? The hell, man?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a group. Yeah, it's because they also have a scene in the movie just talking simply about that concept of the statistic. It's like the way that you shape your body and aim the guns gives you a defensive and offensive statistic. Thing. So like it's an interesting concept. It's a little bit different too. It does break us away from the Matrix kind of thing. I think one of my biggest problems with the action, and going back to kind of my problem with the overall thing just a little bit, is that if this film didn't come out, if the Matrix didn't exist, I feel like this would be our Matrix, but it would have been given a lot more time and effort to the thought-provoking things. And I think a lot of people were like, instead of going like bullet time, people will be doing gun kata moves.
Yeah,
that's my only.
Thank you, Matrix.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Also, like, instead of people laughing at the line, "I know kung fu," they would be laughing at that entire 10-minute speech where the guy's talking about the statistical probability of if you stand this way and shoot that way. Which, let's face it, Paul, I respect the director that came up with this, or the story writer, the screenwriter that came up with this, because it looks cool. It leads to being shot, no pun intended, but at least being filmed really, really well.
Yeah.
And one of the best scenes in this whole movie is a very long, dark shot. There's nothing on screen. It's where somebody slides into a room and it's then going to show you this gun magic in action. And it's all muzzle flashes. So the flash from the end of the gun is what lights the scene. And it's great because it's very hard to get viewers to watch, 10 or 12 seconds of black nothingness, other than people whispering, going, "Is he here? What's no, shh, he'll hear us." It builds tension. And then you get a cool gun show payoff. And you're like, wow, it's a great idea. But then they just keep going back to that well, and you're like, gosh, I'm glad the Matrix existed, because downloading Kung Fu actually made a lot more sense than this.
Yeah. Like the gun kata thing is probably it's stylized kind of plot points for interesting looking action scenes kind of thing, and then they went, crap, we need to make up a reason that we want people to do this. It's a fighting style that's practically impossible to beat, and you're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So but that's
Wing Chun with guns. It's all good.
Yeah, like it's an interesting kind of concept for an action kind of element. But so that's anything else you want to add to this kind of thing?
I think the reason people should give this a go is there's a hell of a lot more story in it than there are guns. but the guns kind of made everybody miss the fact that there was story in the first place.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the action overshadows the thought provoking kind of like, you know, plots that this is trying to tell you and warn you about in some ways. But yeah, but because of those plots, it's definitely worth a watch, and the action is pretty cool too.
Exactly.
So
it's peanut butter and jelly sandwich, folks. Enjoy both.
Yeah,
whichever order you put them on your bread.
So, we should, as we close out this, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, which is, and if you do end up watching Equilibrium and you haven't watched it yet, let us know in the comments down below what you thought about it. Which goes, anything else you want to add there, Patrick?
No, I'd like to thank you for spending time with us, and I'd like to say, I've been Patrick,
and I've been Paul.
And we'll see you next time, because we're here's out. I thought we were going to try and do it together. Synchronization doesn't work.
It doesn't work out when one of us has to click the buttons.
Yes, good point. Fingers down.
So, goodbye.
Bye-bye, folks.